And we are live. Are we?
Yeah, I think YouTube says we're live. Okay, guys.
Wait, not yet.
I think it is. No?
Oh, yeah. Works.
Cool. So let's just get started. I mean, maybe some small talk for the beginning, a bit of it. Fun fact, I mean, we were like signing up for EdCon, right? Which would have started tomorrow. And when the Chinese organizers had like canceled it, like it was about a month ago that they decided to cancel it. There was like such a big scream all over, like the participants, especially like European participants, would be like, why are you canceling this? This is so crazy. There's nothing going on here. There's no problem. Come on. And like the Chinese organizers were trying to explain to them, like, guys, this is really serious. We're in lockdown here. We cannot buy flight tickets to Europe. And yeah, now whole Europe is basically on lockdowns. It's kind of really crazy. I have to admit, back then I also didn't take it too serious.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello.
Coolio.
Hey.
Hi.
So yeah, we were just talking about EdCon, right? I mean, you also wanted to join, right? And
yeah.
In the end, and Martin, coolio. But in the end, it would have started tomorrow, and everything is on lockdown. So a fair call that they canceled it back then. Yeah. So well, maybe short introduction. I'm Daniel from the COMIT team. Like Philip and Thomas and Lucas and Rishabh are also on the call. And let's discuss a bit about stuff. So in Q1, like we were mostly focusing on integrating Lightning into COMIT to do like layer 1 to layer 2 swaps. And maybe Thomas can give us like a short update how that is going.
Yeah, I actually just stopped programming on that. It's the implementation of the walking skeleton is basically done. So we're debugging some final issues with the connection to LND, which is unfortunately more complicated than we wanted it to be. And yeah, once the skeleton is walking, we want to iron out the shortcuts that we took in and basically make the implementation that we did scale to all the different combinations of swaps that we are currently supporting. So we started with sending Ether and receiving Lightning Bitcoin, and then obviously the other way around, then scaling it to ERC20 tokens. And yeah, that will be it for now.
So today will kind of be a bit like a podium discussion because I felt like why not have some more people on the call? And since we have Killian from Exchange Union on the call, and you're already doing Lightning to Raiden swaps, which is cool. What are like what do you generally think about like layer 2 to layer 2 swaps? I mean, of course, I think you must love them. And what pitfalls have you encountered on the way, like to implement this?
They are the future. Yeah, layer 2 to layer 2 swaps are, I guess, the only way to really make trading as possible as trading, what we would understand as trading, because it's the only way to get them close.
Oh no!
From centralized exchanges. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Line was breaking up like bit.
Okay. But apart from that, we also like actually layer 1 to layer 2 swaps, and we actually have another little secret project live, which is actually doing these, mainly between Bitcoin, Litecoin, on-chain to off-chain, so-called submarine swaps. So we are using more or less the official submarine swap protocol as introduced by Alex Bosworth. Formally, and for layer 2 to layer 2 swaps, there are still a couple of unresolved problems, I would say. For us, it's mainly around how to prevent people abusing certain things. Like, I think you are familiar with the free options problem. That's still an unsolved issue on layer 2 to layer 2 swaps specifically. So for now, we settled on a reputation system approach. So basically neglecting all these complicated technological solutions that are out there, but I would say are pretty hard to implement, and none of them is ideal. So I think to have a decent reputation system in place is the only way to mitigate these. And that's actually something we are starting to work on right now, since now that we have the basic technological pieces in place. Reputation system is getting focused right now. And let me think, what else? What other hurdles did we encounter?
I'm curious about this reputation system. Do you want to share a little bit more about the tech? Is this like a
Sure.
decentralized reputation-based
It is.
system, or
Yes. So how we implement it right now is actually you locally would collect the history, and you locally basically would start with 0, reputation score 0 with all your peers. All of your peers have like a white vest. And during your trading experience with them, you give them reputation scores. So it's completely decentralized, where you're collecting reputation scores based on experience with other peers. So that's good because it's decentralized, but it's bad because you first need to gather experience with a peer in order to give it a reputation score.
Is that reputation transferable? Like, can I benefit from my reputation with, let's say, trading with you when I want to trade with Philip?
We are thinking about that, and there's actually already, I think we have a call by now that actually lets you ask other nodes about their reputation score with a specific node. So you say, hey, how was your experience with this other node? Can you give me your score? And you could use that, but we are not entirely sure yet if that's something we want to have live at some point. So the idea is there, but not sure. Yeah. So because then we think it will end up with a kind of couple of trusted nodes where everyone gets the reputation scores from, and then you have a de facto centralized system again. But yeah, open to ideas here. So by now we heavily rely on, you do a couple of trades, you have bad experience, you give reputation scores, you have good experience, you give reputation scores, and yeah.
Maybe like just because out of interest, like how many users would you say are currently actually using this? I mean, you can like, is the reputation system already in place and people are actually using it to rate trades?
Ours, you mean? It is.
Yes.
It is in place, but the usage is like close to 0, right? So we've got to be honest here. So we're in very early stages. We are. So mainnet usage by now, I think it's mainly us. So
no, that's totally fine. It's not much difference for us. It's just like interested to see like how is it going? Because I mean, like we also have decentralized order book and negotiation protocols on our plate for Q2. So that's pretty much upcoming. Maybe Philip, you want to say something about it?
Sure. You called it the negotiation protocol or a decentralized order book, but I'd say the problem is actually way older. Some may know it under the problem of coincidence, which comes from back in the days when people were trading goods with each other. And the problem describes that how can a seller who want to sell an item X find a suitable buyer who wants to buy that item? And most of the time, you don't have that. You don't have exactly someone looking for exactly that what you are selling. And in our case, it's a little bit more complicated. We are trading cryptocurrencies, but the problem remains the same. How does a maker find a taker, and how does a taker find a maker? And we want to tackle that in the next quarter. There are a bunch of different solutions out there. On Ethereum, for example, they have the huge advantage that they can have enforceable orders. So if they, for example, store an order book on chain, then a order is always executable unless someone else sends a reverse transaction before and cancels this order. But if you would go cross-chain, you can't do that. So you can't have cross-chain enforceable trades, at least not easily. So we want to tackle this problem next quarter, and there are various different solutions which range from a fully fledged decentralized order book where we have a decentralized data storage and store all the bits and asks from takers and makers to a simple decentralized, let's just use a hash table, where you only have an IP address of a maker and you need to contact this maker then and ask him for the latest rate. So the possibilities are huge, problem space is huge. And I think, Killian, you already solved this problem as well somehow. You want to give us some insights into that?
Yeah, it's definitely not solved. So we have a kind of working, or I can hear myself. We have a kind of working solution, but it's definitely not the perfect solution. So how it is basically like you described with us right now. So we, maybe as a starters, as basic technology, we are maintaining direct connections to all peers. So every peer has a direct socket connection actually to another peer, where the orders get transferred, and then you collect them locally, basically very similar to what you just described, like a hash table with not an IP address, but like a whole URI, which is pub key at IP address port. And that's where you know where that the order came from. And if you want to have that order, you contacted this peer and ask to take that order. And once the peer accepts, you have order accepted, the funds are getting locked into HTLCs and the whole swap procedure starts.
So how do you, one problem we are looking into is how to solve spam and invalid orders. Do you have a solution to this problem?
Yeah, good question. So that's so obviously. So maybe are you guys all familiar what we are talking about here? So the problem is that you of course could send out orders and you don't have the actual money for it, right? So in the payment channels or in the chain, whatever it is, you don't have the actual funds to back up your orders. So if someone was requesting the order, the funds are not there. That's a big problem. So how we plan to solve it in the long run is we will have a new role in our ecosystem. And that's actually something we only came up with in the last 2 months. So it's a new role called a curator, or let's say a market maker tester. So this is someone that regularly tests orders.
What's his incentive? Sorry.
He is getting paid for that.
Okay.
So the curator, I think I would need slides and probably an hour to explain
No,
it.
but that means you would introduce like an additional role
Yes.
to actually get like a reputation to the system again,
Yes.
and then kind of like takers kind of have to rely on these curators to like do their job.
The curator maintains, very short, the curator maintains a list with high quality market makers, meaning market makers that he tested in regular intervals, and other curators also tested in regular intervals. Tests came out positive, meaning the orders were backed by actual money. They get a good reputation score by these curators, end up on a list. And if I, as taker, as trader, want to have high quality traders, meaning traders which are not cheating on me, which have actual funds in their channels and actual trades are going on, I just access that list and get these high quality makers.
Maybe cool. That's very interesting. Maybe towards Martin, are you guys like, Martin is also on the call, right? Are you guys also tackling challenges around negotiation protocol, or are you pretty much, because I mean, you're building a solution that is based on like a tokenized solution for Bitpanda in Austria. It's basically you're working for the TU, like Technical University of Vienna. Just a short intro. You can also like say something yourself about yourself and the project. I'd be interested if you also like deal with like the negotiation part, like decentralized.
Well, yeah. Let me just quickly introduce myself. Me and Philip, the other Philip, we're PhD students at the TU in Vienna, and as Daniel said, we're working on a research project with Bitpanda, and Bitpanda's aim is to create a so-called cross-blockchain token. So basically, an asset or a token that can exist on multiple blockchains at the same time. And so far, we've just been working on the mechanics of that token and not really tackling all the support stuff around that, like negotiation and everything else, because we're just we were just two guys working on it. Yeah.
Sure, but is decentralized negotiation generally something on the plate, or is it like, I mean, Bitpanda is pretty much a centralized exchange, right? Are they looking into this, or?
They're not really a decentralized exchange. They're pretty centralized.
Yeah, they're completely centralized, I would say. Sorry, maybe
Yeah.
I misspoke.
So it's at the moment the situation is a little bit hangs a bit in the air because the direction where the research project is going to take is not really clear at the moment. There might be some other program that will provide some funding. So at the moment, it's really there's no long-term. There's no clearly defined long-term goals at the moment. So that's unfortunately can't provide.
So we can hire you soon. No, joking. So we can hire you soon. Sorry, I'm just joking. No, but
maybe you can fund us for sure.
Cool. No, I mean, I found the solution not uninteresting that you're working on, especially when it comes to like an exchange that wants to build a solution around. Maybe one question towards Pedro, just because I'm interested and we haven't spoken in quite a while. What are you currently working on?
Hello. So right now we are looking into these exchanges where you have one guy in the middle. We call it Tumbler or Tumblebit, similar to Tumblebit technology, where there is the senders on the left and the receivers on the right. And this intermediate helps to hide who is paying to whom, so which sender is trying to send to which receiver.
So it's a solution focusing on privacy?
Exactly. So basically, the naive way would be that this intermediary sees everything and helps naively to everybody, but would be bad from security and from privacy. So how you can leverage this intermediary? The research question is how to leverage this intermediary such that he doesn't have to be trusted for security and privacy. So how this intermediary can forward the tokens or the coins from the senders to the receivers and still not learning who is paying to whom. That's the main research problem that we're looking at.
And sorry, just a question. So we talked about the negotiation part before. So the negotiation, agreeing on the price, like the order book, so to speak, is that also going through this middleman?
No, so here for privacy reasons, we have to fix these parameters. So we have to fix that every offer, it has the same amount. So, and everybody on the left is asking for people on offer tokens and on the right. So we have to fix those. We have to fix the tokens or the coins type, and also the amounts for privacy. Otherwise, it will be easy for the intermediary to learn who is paying to whom. Like if one is trading Bitcoin to Bitcoin and the other Ether to Ether, it will be really easy to see.
Okay, CoinJoin, like
CoinJoin, but in a with having this intermediary as helping for finding people that want to trade to each other.
Mm-hmm. And the trick is that the guy in the middle doesn't know the other two parties, while in some CoinJoin protocols, the person who's doing the join can still learn who adds what to the transaction.
Yeah, from what I understood, the main difference is that it's not a lot of inputs and outputs in one transaction, right? Like every trade with someone is just one transaction. You just actually don't learn who you're paying to.
Exactly. So technically, one difference in CoinJoin, if you have 5 people, let's say, trading, you will have a transaction that has 5 inputs and 5 outputs, and this transaction is clearly easy to distinguish from the normal payments where one person is paying to another one. Here, all transactions are one sender, one receiver, which would be either the sender to the intermediary or the intermediary to the receiver. So transactions look like a normal payment, hopefully, and still at the end there is a swap between it is a sender and the receiver through the intermediary. And yeah, all the senders don't need to collaborate to each other. They don't need to talk to each other. It's only through this intermediary.
Pretty exciting.
It is super exciting.
Yeah, that's really cool. What's the name again, so I can read up a bit on it?
So the original idea of the project was a Tumblegate, and now we came up with a improved version. It's called A2L, Anonymous Atomic Locks, which improves in efficiency, and so we achieve the same notion of privacy as them, which are pretty strong, and we improve upon efficiency a lot. So our project is called A2L.
Have you already put some more work in like reversing the initial relationship so that the software that implements the middleman doesn't have to go first?
Yeah, so one initial, we are thinking about it, but one initial thought would be to use something like eCash tokens, or so basically the sender or the person that wants to start the trade will create a authorization token that the intermediary has to sign, and then later the one placing the order or asking the tumbler to put money, he will have to show this token. So basically, only if the tumbler has authorized this action before, the person can ask money from the tumbler. And obviously, there is some crypto need to make sure that the authorization token issued by the tumbler and later shown by the user cannot link to each other. Otherwise, privacy will be blocked.
I was about to ask, that would allow you to link them again, right?
Exactly. So there is some magic crypto happening, such that these two tokens are not linkable. So the tumbler does not know who asked for it before, and still he's sure that it was one of the tokens that he produced before.
Cool. Tumbling. Cool. Philip, when are we getting tumbling protocols into COMIT?
That was my next question, actually.
we are in contact. As soon as Pedro solved this problem of draining the tumbler in the middle, we are ready to jump on this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe another jump into privacy, because the second big topic besides negotiation that we have on the slate for Q2 is green to BTC swaps. We built a POC in Q1 and are going now for integrating this into the core. You want to add something, Philip?
Well, you said everything already.
Privacy preserving swaps. That's pretty fun.
No, so for us, privacy and censorship resistance is one of the main focuses. It's really important for us, and traditional blockchains offer this, assumingly they are permissionless. But the problem is, if you want to go cross-chain, you might lose some of those properties. So especially if you use HTLCs, you can link those two trades with each other. And then if I'm watching both chains, I can learn where your money goes from which account on the one chain and learn how much money you get on the other chain. And that is a privacy issue. And with some cryptography magic, like scriptless scripts, you can get fungibility into those transactions. And then those two trades are not traceable anymore. And we had the first breakthrough last quarter where Lucas focused on an atomic swap between Grin and Bitcoin. We didn't put that much focus on the fungibility side on Bitcoin, but using a 2 out of 2 multi-sig, it's still not connectable to the other transaction on the Grin blockchain, but it looks like a 2 out of 2 multi-sig transaction on Bitcoin. And yeah, so we had this, as Daniel said, we had this proof of concept separated from our reference implementation. And next quarter is all about integrating that into the reference implementation so that people can actually using it. Super exciting, this topic.
Yeah, and probably one thing to add there is that because this builds in this scriptless scripts thing, or we call it lock, but basically this technique, the integration of new cryptocurrencies boils down to support this or have an implementation of these scriptless scripts. And so far we managed to do it with several of them, like everything based on ECDSA, everything based on Schnorr. Also, we have a version for linkable ring signatures, like the one in Monero. So as soon as you want to integrate a new cryptocurrency, the only thing that you have to do is to come up with a way to implement these scriptless scripts.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the ultimate goal.
The irony about this statement is that actually implementing this cryptography is going to be one of the hardest things for a, I would say, very stupid technical reason, actually. And that is our reference implementation uses Rust. And a lot of these things are implemented in C, like the SECP 256K1 library that Peter Woolley wrote. And many projects, and Corinne is included in there, they just fork this library, add the stuff that they need, and then add it to their source code. And unfortunately, you cannot link to the same. You cannot have the same symbol names from a C library 2 times in your source code. So it's kind of hard to depend on both things at the same time and then make use of that cryptography. So yeah, let's see. This is one of the main challenges that we identified as part of the proof of concept. And I'm sure we're going to get around it, but it's a bit annoying that the ecosystem is like limiting here.
I can imagine. Like for me, as soon as it works in pen and paper, it's fine. But I know.
Yeah, you should teach your PhD students Rust, Pedro.
Yes, so they can write 100% Rust implementations of all of this stuff for us, and we don't need C anymore.
Let me add it for the Q2 of the PhD.
Okay, let's go very social. Just because I'm interested, Patrick. Did you recently change your company name?
Yeah.
What happened
I'll
there?
give you some background. So we've been working. So last summer, we started a company called Pisa, and we've been working on a watchtower for layer 2. But what we realized was, as part of a watchtower, the core component is a relayer that can send transactions to the network. So we've actually been building the relayer and not the watchtower. So it just got frustrating when I would tell people what we're building, but then they would think of Pisa and they would think of layer 2 watchtowers. When actually we're building a relayer that works for any smart contract. So we decided to call it AnyDot. So it's really obvious that it's for any smart contract. And there's also like a twist on the message.sender from Solidity. Any.sender, message.sender. So yeah, that's why we rebranded, and I think it's really useful now. And that's actually, I guess, is really important when you're doing, I don't know, products or protocols. Just getting the messaging and the marketing right is really important. Because, people don't always listen to what you're saying.
Oh, yeah. So, but are you still doing watchtowers for Lightning as well?
So we have 2 parts. So we still have the watchtower for Bitcoin, and on Ethereum we have a general relayer that can work for any smart contract. The watchtower just got open sourced, so it's called the Eye of Satoshi. I don't know if you guys seen the New York, the Empire State Building has this little red light going around. Have you guys seen that? No. So when New York's in crisis, the Empire State Building has a little red light that goes around in a circle. Sort of reminds me of Batman a bit. Maybe that's where Batman got the idea from. You should watch it, honestly. But we were making jokes as the Eye of Satoshi in New York.
Nice.
Is that currently on?
What?
Is that currently on? Like, is it flashing?
Yeah, it's on right now. Yeah, it's because New York's in crisis because of the virus. So if you just Google it, it'll come up and you'll see the red light of New York.
Tom is already checking, I'm sure about it.
Yeah.
Live cam.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, but the Lightning Watchtower is pretty cool. So we decided to make it a community project. So now it's open source and anyone can contribute. And I think right now it's being integrated into C Lightning. So hopefully very soon, or at least C Lightning have created a hook in their code where we can, plug in the watchtower. So hopefully soon anyone can use that. The watch for breaches. Yeah, it's really exciting. Sergey's the main guy behind that. He's been building that watchtower now for like 5-6 months.
how have you found integrating with C Lightning? Because when we were looking at building our layer 2 integration, our first approach was, okay, we want to use LND because it's like the most prominent implementation.
Yeah.
And it actually turned out to be fairly painful because
Oh, really?
yeah,
We are live on YouTube.
Oh, I support that.
Sorry,
Daniel said I can complain a little bit.
Yes, I allowed that. This is
Okay,
all
how do
right.
we use C Lightning?
Yeah, we haven't tried C Lightning, but the main issue we have with LND is that their HTTP API is auto-generated from their gRPC code, and it's like it behaves exactly how you would expect a auto-generated API behaves. So like wrong status codes, inconsistent encodings, and various places, bad documentation, and yeah. So yeah, I would be curious of like what C Lightning is like, and whether or not how you
pretty
integrate with
easy.
that.
So we're only starting to do the integration now, and my understanding is that you can. So it's in C++, the nodes in C++, but apparently we can write the integration in Python. It just sounds like a normal plugin that you would do for a, there's an API that you can access and call functions on.
Cool.
It seems pretty straightforward. We haven't run into any obstacles yet.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think one of the main reasons why we didn't go for C Lightning was because they didn't support hold invoices, at least not without a plugin. And it's like, well.
Well, it does, yeah. So I actually talked to Rusty, and he explained to me, I forgot the details now, but it's pretty straightforward actually to get hold invoices to work on C Lightning.
They have an example plugin on in the repository already. So
Yeah, Rusty mentioned it at the Bitcoin meetup we went to recently as well. He actually joined there and was talking about like C Lightning and like we asked him about hold invoice, and he said it's pretty straightforward, but he wouldn't recommend using them.
So,
Killian,
are you using C Lightning or LND?
We are on the brink of actually jumping full force on it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What's the motivation for that?
So we have an issue open that says support C Lightning since a while now, and it got a little bit of attention internally and also externally recently. So I think we will tackle it pretty soon. Not because we want to ditch LND or something, just to have a second implementation in there. And I mean, C Lightning also supports another chain already, so it's pretty interesting for us actually. And it supports everything we need. It has hold invoices. It has everything we need. So why not? And regarding
sorry, yeah.
I just want to say one thing regarding LND. Stuff is definitely not perfect there. I mean, nothing is perfect, right? So we just spent like a month debugging unlock issues with LND. So at the moment, their unlock call is still separate from the rest, and it is pretty buggy. So we just spend time on stuff like that, right? So to how to unlock LND properly. Just wanted to mention that. This is one of the everyday problems you run into. Anyhow, go ahead.
One question I would have regarding the C Lightning and hold invoice thing, if it's like what I find a bit odd is assuming we support C Lightning in COMIT, then that means when you start your commit node, you also have to start a C Lightning node. And if the hold invoices are just a plugin, how can I test like whether or not the user did that correctly? Like if it's, as far as I understand, the plugins work with like a standard in, standard out, just kind of script. So do I have to tell the user that they have to set up their plugins correctly so that this works as expected, or?
You're asking me, right? How I would do it?
Anyone who knows.
I don't know, but I would give the user everything ready with the C Lightning with the plugin already. I would not rely on the user to set it up him or herself correctly. That's what I would do. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
So we would go for a completely integrated setup where you give the user everything he needs, and that's pretty much it.
That's what we do. Even with all the build flags LND at the moment, we give the user LND that we know is set up and built correctly with the correct build flags.
In a Docker container, right?
In a Docker container, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the big issues with, I would say, building on blockchains in general. We discussed that, like I say, mid of this quarter, about like it's so cumbersome to like set up all this stuff, like especially full nodes, for example. But at the same time, it's like it's not really our business to solve the problem that full nodes are cumbersome to set up. So we kind of have to rely on them and just wait for other people to improve this kind of space. But at the same time, you have to cater for it, because if it's not well set up, your users can't use your software. So
No,
it's kind of
definitely.
like a really bad.
I can
limbo
jump
state.
in there a bit. That was one of the motivations for AnyDot. So what we noticed was that when we were building the Watchtower, we noticed that sending transactions to Ethereum is a pain in the ass. I don't know if anyone's ever struggled with that as well. It's really painful. And every
I would
team
remove
has-
the sending transactions part of the sentence, and then I would
Thomas, a bit, Thomas.
everything's a pain in the ass. Yeah, but sending transactions is, predominantly very, very painful. But every project has to build that infrastructure. So that's why we just started working on a relayer with an API. So hopefully, as a new Ethereum dev, you have Infura, and then you have the any sender API, and that'll just take care of talking to your node and sending transactions. So these have two APIs you have to deal with. And then you don't have to run your own node. Because running Go Ethereum is also the pain in the ass. Yeah, I think that's probably like Bitcoin Core.
I synced Geth on the Raspberry Pi. Who did it? It was a pain. It's painful. Yeah,
It's very painful. In the old days, we tried to do such kind of stuff. It's like, no. No, it's just not really designed for that yet. Actually, like, maybe one last thing. I mean, Killian, you're using Raiden on the other side. Do you think Raiden has a future? I mean, like, it's probably a mean question, but I mean, I don't know anybody that uses it. Is it?
This is live stream, right? So I don't comment right now.
Okay, that's totally fine. What do you think of? That's maybe an even meaner question. What do you think of Ethereum 2?
I don't think I understand Ethereum 2 well enough to even remotely have an opinion on that. So
do you think it will?
I think Vlad's tweet yesterday, ETH1 to ETH2 will be painless integration. It was an April Fool's joke.
I love it.
Yeah, yes, like April 1st. Did you all see the toilet paper coin on like CoinMarketCap?
Oh yeah.
That was pretty sweet.
Pretty good. Yeah. The white paper.
Pretty good one.
Right.
Oh god. The white paper for the white paper. Okay. Guys, that was very enjoyable. Are there any more questions?
Can I have one last question? Yeah.
Sure,
sorry.
go wild.
So I agree partially on what you said before. I think it was Thomas and Patrick saying that we can't fix the full node problem ourselves, and this has to be somehow handled by the layer 1 guys. Yeah, sure. On the other hand, it's our users correctly, and actually we worked quite a bit on having light clients, a full light client option now. Actually, Michael, he's on the call. He's one of the main guys from a befriended team that was working on that. And it just improved the UX so much by saying, hey, Docker up, and this thing is ready to go in 10 minutes compared to sync Bitcoin D, Litecoin D, Geth, and whatnot. So my question would be, is there anything on Ethereum that you guys know of that is similar to a neutrino, similar to connect to a random set of full nodes and get my block information from these, or is there really only Infura? That's a serious question.
I think Ethereum has these light clients, but they suck to use.
I don't know anyone using light
Any
clients
experience with that?
Probably, I mean, you're aware of parity snapshots, right?
The fast sync stuff.
Yes. So, I mean, if it depends on when the last snapshot happened, but it's usually, I'd say, decently fast. But obviously, the states the state that you're keeping locally grows still linearly over time. It's just it gets you up to speed, and it's actually it's also a trust issue then, right? Because like I think there was this one. I'm not sure if it's true, but I heard that apparently there is only one actually full archive Ethereum node that has all the history, and everything else is just like fast-sync clients that constantly exchange snapshots.
Because the beauty of the Lightning Light clients Kilian mentioned is that you are not only synced in 5 minutes, but also that your chain database is like 700 megabytes, because you sync just the filters and the block headers, and then you query dynamically what you need. In Ethereum, there is no way to do that, I think, because right now
at the protocol level there is. So in the Ethereum block headers, there's enough information to give you the state of any given contract at any given time, but just no one's implemented it. I think. I don't know of an implementation that does it, but definitely the block header has info to do that.
Okay.
It's more like a lack of implementation.
Yeah, it has to stay treated. So.
Why? Okay, yeah, interesting.
Well, that's all. Like besides that, I think there are alternative services to Infura. The question is if that makes it better. I mean, it's probably really the better choice to go like light client then and check around if somebody is working on making like that better.
We would love to support such a project. So if you guys ever stumble upon such a project that works in the way Patrick just described, let me know. I'm highly interested.
Cool. Sure. Noted. Did everybody enjoy the call?
Yes.
Good. I think it was fun. I actually thought about doing this more often now that we are kind of locked all in our rooms. Is there anybody that is not in lockdown? Yeah, I thought so. So since
you want people to actively commit to breaking the law now on a video call? Or?
Breaking the law on Jitsi is fine. No, I mean, so how about we set up another call like in maybe 2 or 3 weeks? I'll send out another invite and we chat a bit again. Would you guys like that?
Yeah, sure.
Our lockdown is for 90 days, so we got time.
Yes, longer here, so it's fine.
And I still have some corona, so.
Wow, Philip, you're actually doing that. I was waiting for somebody doing it. Actually, I already have one of those in the fridge. Okay, cool. Are there any last questions? Otherwise, I would wrap it up. Well, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Daniel.
Oh, sure. Thanks a lot for everybody joining in. It was really cool. I think we all learned something. See you next time. Cheers.
See ya.
Bye.
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 Ciao, see you.
Ciao.